Me Kid. This is the Alpha Airdrop, and we back at it again, man. This one is pretty jam packed, no lie. This should be no shorter topics, but so we got some good news for Zen, and we like to cover good news first, and then of course we got the SEC investigating Hex or Hex influencers or whatever. And I guarantee you're gonna get a perspective here that you haven't gotten anywhere else in the community simply because everybody else answers to someone else. But yeah, man, we gonna get into it. So with Zen, they got this whole batch mentor coming out. Is it in a few days or but
Um, it should be definitely coming soon because a couple weeks ago he said it was just days away. So I anticipate possibly within the coming next week. But it's definitely coming.
all right, yeah, for sure. And then Zen is launched on a new blockchain. I forget what this one is called, but you can check real quick. Let me get this
Yeah,
link for you.
yeah, I got it. Right here actually, we were just looking at that. But I'm not OKX chain. That's the new one. But for some reason, let me just refresh my screen. I don't know if it's launched yet. I think it's about to launch. Yeah, it hasn't actually launched yet, but they already got it on the website. So they're basically about to do that soon here. But so far, you got Ethereum POS, which has 2.3 million wallets. You got Binance Smart Chain with 6.8. Um, you've got 6.8 million. You got Polygon, which is just like lapped everybody with 13.3 million, almost 13.4. And Avalanche is like dragging behind with only 484,000. It's like stuck in the mud. POW is fucking killing it as well. Like they got 11.8, almost 11.9 million wallets. Moonbeam, they're doing all right. They got 744,000. Evmos came coming on strong with 945,000. It took them a little bit to pick it up, I suppose. But Phantom is not bad. They got 8.9 million, and then Dogechain, which is just came out of nowhere. They're only like a week old, but they've already got 13.3 million. So they're already tied with Polygon, who came out like a week to 10 days earlier. So that's a roughly 30 something, 32 whatever million wallets within 30 days across one, two, three, four,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9 chains and a tenth on deck.
Yeah, if you want to show it, you can. Last time when I tried to do it on the stream, it didn't share my screen. Uh, I went back and rewatched it. It didn't share my screen, but uh,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, give me a second. I will put that up. I thought about that, like when I said the last fucking sentence, of course.
nah, yeah,
But
you good.
so yeah, we got Asher in the house as well, man. Say what's up to the people, Ash.
Oh yeah,
Yo, what's good, y'all? Thanks for having me. It's been a minute. Just been, chilling, watching the craziness, watching the markets burn down, seeing the different battles within the community of different coins between different coins. So, man, yeah, it's been a crazy month, and I feel like the winter is going to bring a whole lot more bankruptcies, insolvencies, trapped user funds. So definitely glad to be here chopping it up with y'all.
oh
Yeah,
man,
no
I'm
doubt.
actually glad you mentioned that because I'm gonna edit the title and add the FTX. It's so much going on, so much good news and crazy stuff within the small community that we focus on that even FTX got some crap going on. So no, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because Man, Sam Bankman-Fried and this whole shenanigan fest that's been pulled, it really just sheds light on, why we keep telling people about the self custody and why Zen is so big, because you're not relying on nobody for your funds, and who knows, they might be using your funds behind your back.
Yeah, I mean, I think for people I talked to who were, new to crypto and new in the sense of like they just bought some Dogecoin on Robinhood or they bought some Ethereum Classic, like trying to drive the point home that it's like it's all about self custody. That's the ethos of one, to protect yourself, and two, where you can find the most responsibility, but also freedom, um, to do things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do in your regular life. So it's like, yeah, you're right with that ethos of self custody being so important to people who are getting involved, hearing about it for the first time, and wanting to, if they have that in the back of their mind, keep that. That will protect you and also allow you to do a lot of cool things.
Yeah, you ready to show your screen? My bad.
Yeah.
All right, for
But yeah,
sure.
just to kind of, encapsulate on what Asha L was just
Man.
saying as well. Because every time I hear some shit like this, the first thing that come to my mind is I'm fortunate, I guess, like I came into crypto in the time frame that I came, which was just in May of 2020, as I tell everybody. But also I'm fortunate to have found this community with Hexicans and the level of knowledge I gained, you know, just kind of being in the community and understanding like the different aspects and the nature of crypto and not just in the hex community but as far as like functionally and how things work and like numbers and mechanics and all this stuff like that, defi, what's really defi, what to look out for, all these things like that, just based on all of our natures really, we always are going to be on the lookout. But I think probably, I know I can say I probably would have made more mistakes. I probably would have been a part of some of these like rug pulls that we've seen, like not just over the past year but since 2020 really, and even before that. But definitely from 2020 we started to see a lot of big rug pulls and shit like that, and companies that are doing side business and shit like that. And this is what happens whenever you have your so-called crypto parked on decentralized exchanges, because the truth of the matter is, and this is why again we're going to get into Zen a lot more, but this is why these type protocols and Zen is kind of breaking the mold, and it was built out of Hex and like some of the tokenomics and the game theory behind Hex, no doubt for sure, but it actually grew on top of that and created other aspects that made it pure DeFi, which makes things like this impossible, right?
Right.
If we, even if people had their coins from, if because sometimes you got to go to a centralized exchange to get that one coin that you can't get anywhere else. If you really want to get that motherfucker, like we've all had to do that, but I don't think any of us that are on this stream right now can be accused of letting our shit sit on there and just camping out,
Yeah.
because we know better.
We haven't
Any,
lost any. I've talked to several people, and it is a net loss for crypto, but for most people who really are truly educated in the space, like you're not affected by this. This is only like bad for press, bad for like crypto regulation, as far as like how hard they might crack down. But yeah, let's stay on this FTX topic just because it's unfolding, and everything else is already lined up. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah.
did y'all hear about the not, I mean, call them conspiracy theories, but they may have moved Epstein's island over to where FTX was. You know what I'm saying? Like they were into some shenanigans. That's all I got.
oh no,
And
I haven't heard.
the symbolism of Alameda, that trading platform. I mean, look, that this is so basically. I mean, a whole bunch went down, but if you look at the players involved, FTX was a huge money laundering funneled to the Democratic Party for fundraising. Though some of the largest donor to Joe Biden, Joe Biden in his campaign. His mother was a like a I don't know what you would call him, a PAC or a fundraiser for the Democratic Party, this Sam Bankman guy. So
Yeah.
basically, this whole thing is they've been laundering money, taking money from people who put their funds on the exchange, funneling that to his trading uh, firm, Almeida. And that trading firm, Almeida, the CEO is the daughter of, I think, let's say, one of the head professors at MIT, whose dad was Gary Gensler's boss, who's the SEC chairman, head chair. So basically, this whole thing just shows how corrupt the system is. How basically, Sam Bankman-Fried was leading regulations, talking about how DeFi, cryptocurrency, needed to be regulated. Willing to lead the charge on that, being on magazine covers as question mark is he the savior of crypto. And at the end of the day, this dude, his parents, and the funding behind him up in Barbados, a lot of shady stuff. They're being accused too of running a little sex cult down there, in the Bahamas, I guess.
Mm,
So,
okay.
I mean,
Caught
look,
him.
go look at Almeida. Look at their. I'll say, just check out their logo, and if you can compare it to, let's say, um, I was watching Hotep Jesus' channel and he brought this up. But if you look at, let's say, these type of deep state cabal people who were tied to Epstein, some of the symbols that they used, um, you know, it's very similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, I've seen like that symbolism that you're talking about with these connections to Epstein, but I actually honestly haven't looked into Sam Bankman-Fried enough to even get into that. But I actually did hear today. This is when my eyebrow was first raised. Like somewhere I was reading like in the past couple of hours that yeah, what you just said about his mother being like part of this huge like Democratic pack, and also this motherfucker donating $1 billion to the Democratic. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Like that shit seems inordinate. What the fuck is going on? You know what I'm saying? So I just thought it was
Oh,
weird and shit. But again, knowing, again, this research that you guys know that I've been doing with this crypto cult shit, I just assumed that he would just because he was centralizing all this other shit that he was a part of that whole shit anyway. I just didn't bother to do the fucking research, but you just broke it down. You know what I'm saying? And this is what me personally documented. I'm not just saying this shit now. I've been screaming about this shit from the day I got into crypto, yo. This shit is compromised. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what people are thinking and shit, but this shit is compromised just like the rest of fucking reality. Why wouldn't crypto be? And this is a perfect example. And I think it's interesting as well. The moment that this motherfucker started talking this fucking legislating crypto bullshit and all this other shit. ZZ came out and put the smackdown on him. Bomb. And also BlockFi. We're gonna see other fallout from this as well, but BlockFi also suspended trading on their platform and shit because again, like all these motherfuckers are intertwined with each other, yo. You know what I'm saying? They all got interest and they're all basically divested in each other's fucking Ponzi. This is how this shit seems to be working. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's all a domino effect. You can literally see it. Um, I literally had a tweet months ago. Three Arrows Capital, BlockFi, Celsius. Uh, that happened. Then next thing you know, Voyager. Oh, it happened to Voyager as well. And then who's gonna buy out Voyager? FTX. And then it happens to FTX. So these are like
Oh,
people who you would trust with your money. So like I can't really imagine like it not happening all across the board. I, like people should really be taking into account for most of this and be seeking things like Zen. But go ahead and say what you were about to say.
oh, no, I was just gonna say also Nexo, we will be talking about Nexo right now as well, along with BlockFi, but they just managed to withdraw their fucking funds before they shut off the tap. And also check this shit out. And dude, this is so crazy. This is no coincidence that we're talking about this right now. I literally just was like looking into this morning, like my morning. It's just like 11 something over here AM now, right? But so basically he has a FTX out of Bahamas and he has a FTX US. he only allowed refunds back to the FTX Bahamas clientele. Now, based on what Asher L just said, I haven't done no research, but I guarantee you, if you go to that motherfucking block ledger and you like sniff around those accounts, you're gonna see a lot of these entities that Asher L was speaking about earlier. So they've been allowed to get, basically he allowed his peoples to get their shit out, but all these peons over in America, you know what I'm saying? Because his company is out of Bahamas. So America literally has no jurisdiction over him. And his company in America is not in a foul with the SEC. They haven't done anything wrong. It's the one in the Bahamas that was doing all the fucking fancy fucking accounting and shit. So man, yo, this shit is probably way bigger than they're making it out to be. He's probably just another fall guy, really. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? For
a
some
hundred
real other
percent.
deeper shit that we probably can't even get into on here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, he's definitely going to be the main fall man. But it's interesting. I guess some of the people around him at FTX. Uh, I mean,
Brady,
basically,
Tom
I don't.
Brady.
I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to get Kanye or Kyrie. But if you look at who's been funding these people, whether it's over in the East or Middle East,
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But I definitely thought about Tom Brady initially whenever I first
yeah.
heard this
Cause he
news.
did the commercial, but
Yeah, he got a lot of stake in this shit, you know. And
I
see, this is
I
it's
think
so
he's just
fun.
a fall guy because if you really look at it, this guy he didn't really work for his billions initially, and then after having them, I mean they're all gone now. But this isn't the type of guy that should be running this right here. There's no way he was the head of it. Essentially, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah, no, he's just a front man, yo. I mean, again, he's a lieutenant, yo, in this
it, it
fucking
it's
army.
also
Again,
why CZ pulled out of the deal because for one, CZ has the capital to patch these kind of holes, and I'm gonna talk about that with Richard Hart in just a second. But to my knowledge, Sam Bankman-Fried and CZ hate each other, right? So the fact that he was buying FTX was almost like a, I buy you, fool, type of
no, but
deal.
hold on a second. Hold on. Because it's deeper than that, bro. And I wanted to go there next and shit as
Yeah,
well. But let's
yeah.
let's set the table first, and
Let's
I'll let you
go.
get back to it. It's not that he's buying FTX. He was FTX's first fucking investor and his biggest investor.
Right,
All
right.
right. So just go from there, like and
And
like just
I want to
marinate
point
on that.
some right. I want to point something else out as well. Mainly, the people who are losing money are the individuals, because if you look at everybody who pulled liquidity, Crypto.com pulled, Binance
Yeah,
pulled, KuCoin
yeah.
pulled, everybody pulled. So they got
Tom Brady pulled.
look
And I
they
guarantee you, hold on. I
yeah.
guarantee
Go
you they
ahead.
all had their shit in the Bahamas, not the one in America, in the Bahamas. I guarantee you. Go
Right.
ahead.
No, yeah, right. So it's just crazy how this is all playing out here, and my man's is in an $8 billion hole, and that's just what we know so far. But yeah, everybody else pulled. The only people who are losing out on this is the individual user, the people who got small amounts of funds. All the large amounts of money, he's already lost all of that. So nobody
Yeah,
else is getting their
retail,
money back, and the only people who are hurt are the crypto users.
retail,
There's yeah,
retail investor.
100%. But yeah, so as far as that, what I was leading to with this whole Richard Hart thing, and we can continue talking about FTX, but it was one of the things that I keep trying to tell people. And one of my fears about Pulse Chain, and it's not necessarily a fear because we know we're gonna test this thing, but um, Richard Hart has already come out and said that Binance has some exploits in their code and it's not perfect. Okay, so Binance has been hacked. CZ has patched the hole. He has the billions to patch it. Does Richard Hart have the billions to patch a hole if anything happens with his blockchain? I highly doubt it. I really do highly doubt it. He doesn't have a whole team, a whole company. He doesn't have the backing. Like CZ can go ask some people for some money, and they'll give it to him. So uh, it's just a fear. Like for one, we might be waiting longer than we expected. We might not see post chain. This is just me throwing stuff up in the air, but it's a real topic. It's a real question because we're seeing right now the biggest people in this game are having issues. And the only people who aren't having issues are the people who have stacked and done correctly so they can patch these holes and then move forward because we're all in the experimental space. That's what crypto is. So going forward, if we're not looking at things like, okay, if anything goes down, who has the money to patch it? And it's just me playing devil's advocate. Nobody's looking at everything from a negative perspective, but uh, for Binance to get hacked and to have exploits that people can just regularly use, you don't think people can just find these things about any other blockchain? So, I mean, of course, it takes a lot of capital and expertise and skill to perform these things. But the idea is if it happens, can you bounce back? What is Richard Hart going to do? Roll the chain back? Like he always mentions is bad. And it's a real topic. I want to hear what people got to say about it. But it really plays into this because even the people who are bad for crypto, like Sam Bankman Fried, he gets knocked out of the game. But even the good people, can the good people survive? Can Richard Hart actually do what he said he was going to do? And at this point, I doubt it. I'm just going to be the first to say it. I don't even want to be a fudder because I sacrificed. But I don't think this is going to be all sunshines and rainbows like everybody thought. I think we're going to wait long. We're going to get something that's not necessarily what we were promised. And I also feel like bugs are just in the game and we're just as subject as everybody else, no matter how much testing we do, because everybody else has a larger team than this guy. So at this point, he has to prove more. But, I'll let you guys, I'll throw that piece of
Yeah,
meat at y'all, see what you think.
yeah, he does. He does have to prove more, and what it's looking like as far as not, he's not on the trajectory that was expected. Whether it's what he's developed or himself with his marketing, I don't know. So either, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna pick apart everything he's doing, but um, I've been thinking about it more and more, and it's like, if your goal is to bring more people into what you're what you're trying to do, the way you're acting is not going to bring in the big money. So, I mean, you can say what you want. Outrage marketing it works. He's a better marketing than I ever will be, most likely. But I just think it's negative returns on the way he's marketing himself over the past few months. If he's actually trying to get whales and stuff like that, and then also when you want to talk about Pulse Chain, where people need to. Don't take everything he says as true. Like his ideas on proof of work versus proof of stake, I think are wrong and flawed. So the fact that he's hyping up these proof of stake chains to be something that they may not end up to be able to hold up in the long run. I mean, that's where I think, is going to go wrong. So I do agree that Pulse Chain isn't going to be everything he said it was. Does that matter if it actually comes out and gets investment in projects? There are people, we've talked to them on Crypto and Down, people who are out there building businesses on top of the chain already. So they have a more incentive than me or other people who would you would want to categorize in the just investor category. But I do think, yeah, where the flaws of where I see Mr. Hart or whatever his real name is going is one with his marketing tactics. To me, I think negative returns. If in fact he wants to get big player money, institutions, people who wouldn't want to invest in. what when they look and see what he's doing would be turned off and not want to put their money there. And then also the things he says about the type of blockchain promises that he's creating, proof of stake. All right, let me go get this dog.
No, you're good. So yeah, man, I definitely feel you. You know, most of the things that he said, well, I can just name a few off bat. Delegated proof of stake, no longer that. Boom. As far as this ultra fast blockchain, no longer that. Um, and I'm just hoping everything else remains the same. You know, just think of the fact that it's not a delegated proof of stake anymore. All of the guys who were setting up this gear to become validators have now wasted all of their money. It's no point now. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a waste completely, but for the most part, yeah, it's a waste. Um, and this is coming from a person who's bullish, man. We just did a video about Texan, which is gonna like exclusively live on Pulse Chain. I'm extremely bullish on Pulse Chain. But what I'm saying here, and what a lot of other people have saying, like Trevon, and we've been saying this for months. So I really want to stand on it now. And I actually want to be the first person to say I don't think this is coming out, and I don't think it's going to be what everybody says. Just because when everything settles in, then people are going to come to this conclusion and be looking at Richard Hart. But people have already been here. See, you might be late. Uh, but there are true concerns. Uh, there needs to be, I wouldn't say endless, but a large amount of capital before we decide, you know, that we can just do this. Richard, like he always says, he doesn't work for us. So we don't get a lot of information. And then every time I go to the community and ask, why don't we get a lot? Oh, you don't deserve it. You're the reason why we don't get the information because you're always asking and haggling on Twitter. When the real thing is a lot of people, are waiting on this Pulse chain. And to the people who keep mentioning it was a sacrifice, all I have to say is then quit talking about Pulse chain. Quit mentioning it. If it was a sacrifice, you shouldn't be expecting any blockchain either. So, that's how hypocritical the Hex community, well, the Hex zealots have been. And, that's why we have things like Zen. Uh, but it's no FUD. What it is as a community, we have to produce. And we've been producing things that build around Hex, but our founder has not been producing. People keep talking about this testnet. It's a fork of BSC. We aren't using BSC code. I mentioned this in my last video, and I'm gonna keep doing it because until that's like the underlying thing that's being said, then we haven't gone anywhere. Until there's a new version of the testnet, then we're still sitting in the same spot. I don't care about this dev race. I don't care about ETH 2.0. We're in the same spot. We're still waiting. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all we can do at this point is wait. Like yeah, and yeah, I'm just uh, I I don't know. I'm it's a bear market, so right. Hopes not hopes, but sentiment is down. But I'm sitting here just looking at what's going on and being like, all right, bro, like I'm not really impressed. Uh, and if you're supposed to be a leader,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he needs to make up his mind. I think, like, what type of leader he wants to be. Fashion leader, or like blockchain
yeah,
pioneer,
I,
innovator, like
bruh.
that.
So this is what I think. Just from the interviews and stuff I've listened to, I'm like, at the end of the day, like, what is this? He said it himself. What's this dude in it for? He's in it for the glory and for the punani. So like, at the end of the day, like, we gotta recognize what he's actually in this for. And Hex is out there, it's going. But as far as pulse chain comes, like, hey, maybe that may change. Maybe pulse chain won't be as big because his priority changes to focus on something else that's gonna get him laid, or you know, get him some, get him some of that glory hole, like Jerry Jones said.
Yo,
Yeah.
and nobody's really even talking about that. Everybody's talking about this update he said. Like I mentioned before, it's not an update because he already said that about the teams. One
Yeah, we
is
got that
working on
same
this.
tweet a couple months ago about A and the blue team, whatever, whatever the fuck.
Right. It's just a
So,
he just
like,
rescheduled it.
He's
you know what I'm
just
saying?
playing, bro.
But let me say this though. So, with regards to what Asher L was speaking regarding the outrage marketing aspect of this, I think the key word here is marketing. Asher L comes from this background. We were just talking about this, off wax and shit earlier. So I know, you get what I'm about to say. When if you're talking about marketing, whatever adjective you want to put in front of it, really, or adverb you want to put in front of it, the end result is dollars and cents, right? So whatever type of marketing we're doing, if we're being honest and assessing this, minus emotion, and we look at the initiation of his self-proclaimed outrage marketing, and we look at the hex chart, it does not equate. In fact, it will be in deficit at this very moment. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to argue, whether or not this shit is, whatever the fuck. Everybody knows how I feel about it. If you go back and listen to anything that I've said on the wax, like for the past couple months and shit, so I'm not going to revisit that. But when we deal with the actual factual and shit, the outrage marketing has not equated in more onboards into Hex with regards to price performance. So that hasn't worked for one. Now, the next thing with regards to post-chain, there has been so much time that has passed. I'm saying in crypto time and blockchain time. A year and fucking almost a half is a fucking eternity. That's like 5 years in crypto, like no bullshit. That's how quickly things move on the blockchain with regards to technology and innovation and projects and shit like that. So, the fact that it's been this long drawn out, and again, you have to think about what Asherel said. Like, this guy tells you what's the most important thing to him, right? So if it's fucking fame and punani, then maybe we can look at how he rolled this out, and we can see, as we talked about before, the fatal flaws in his rollout. You know, because like I said, he could have just shut the fuck up after the sacrifice and just been in the lab, or been doing his fame and punani thing or whatever the fuck, but just shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to hear from you, bro. If you don't got nothing to say about this shit coming out, shut the fuck up. If you would have just said, yo, this should take time, blah blah blah, like you were saying, I'll get back with you in 6 months with a fucking full update, where we at, just that or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Then I think a lot of the community that's been at odds with Richard Hart since that point and have basically detracted, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them over to Zen and other, projects as well, but mostly Zen. I think a lot of these people would not have been upset and, like to the point where they're leaving the project. I think a lawsuit like this going on now would have never happened. And the SEC would have never been knocking on this motherfucker's door. This is all self inflicted. Not because he delayed, because how he did it. All right. You can't tell people and tell them it's coming out at this time, and then at the last fucking minute of the last hour, you pull out indefinitely, and then you go on an outrage marketing tour that doesn't result in upward movement in the price of Hex. These are the facts. So I don't give a shit what nobody say. I'm not talking from no emotional point. I'm only dealing with what's on the table, the pieces that can be moved. And these are the facts. So people, obviously, clearly, when you're dealing with money and people's lives. They're going to be affected emotionally, and certain people have shown that and displayed it in different ways. Most people just walk away from hexing Richard Hart and they don't want to have anything else to do with him or his project. But then most people, some people, rare people, take it to the next level, and then the SEC gets involved. And again, this is just my perspective, but I dare say that had he not been so vocal about we're doing this, and counting us down and all of this shit, and everybody's holding hex and all these other ERC20s, watching our value dwindle as we wait for this inevitable fucking launch just for it not to happen, and then he just like says fuck you, I don't owe you nothing. Okay, yeah, yeah, you're right. You don't owe me nothing. That's true. You know what I'm saying? But you cannot expect, and I've been saying this along the whole way. It's all documented. I'm not like Johnny come lately or fucking hindsight 2020. I've been saying this shit from jump. We've been doing Sunday services to crypto and downs to everything in between. Now we got the God on with Alpha Airdrop. You know what I'm saying? Yo, we've been saying the same thing. Like you cannot shit on your base and expect for them to follow you. It's just not gonna happen. And we're literally seeing the fall off from there all over the place. There's bodies all over the place, and that's because of Richard Hart, not because he didn't launch, because all the fucking shenanigans that he's doing and the lie that he told that he didn't want to be accountable for. You can't tell somebody some shit and you're supposed to be the great god of crypto and not keep your fucking word, and you don't want to be accountable for that, not even a little bit.
Yeah, it
So
was the
that's my
dev's fault, and now since he has the Eve 2.0 thing, I'm happy he delayed it because now it's gonna be 2.0. So people they want to forget it really, but since we're talking about it, let's kind of go into this whole SEC investigation thing.
But hold on a second. Hold on. Just park that for a second because I want to
Yeah,
ask both of you guys a question.
hit me.
So we're sitting here, we're waiting based on this BSC fork. But in the background, they knew the whole time that this shit was garbage. So what would have happened if POS would not have fucking launched? Where would we be right now? That's
And
what I'm
look,
wondering.
that's exactly what I asked in the Hex Spaces, and I prefaced it with this. It was Richard Hart waiting for ETH POS to come out, just as a question, and it exploded everybody's brain. They couldn't handle it. Oh, how could he be waiting for that if we didn't even know that was coming? So
Yeah, but hold on. But you knew you fucking forked the shitty
right,
version.
right, no,
Okay,
no,
you
no, no,
knew
no, one
that
hundred
shit had
percent.
holes all over it.
And he didn't say nothing. He just said we're forking through it. There's issues. He kept saying it was bugs, and he was forking through it. We're close, guys. We're close. Like, dude, people really want to forget it, but if we go back and like really look, yo, guys, we're so close.
He said
I'm really
weeks, not
feeling like
weeks,
we're
not
2 weeks
months.
away. Yeah, it's not months. We're weeks. I'm thinking we have the V2B, and then next thing you know, we're launch. And then you remember he went on that what is her name? I don't want to say nerd girl, but crypto
Crypto
teen.
Teen,
Yeah, yeah. He
Teen
went on
Crypto,
her.
Miss Teen Crypto.
Yeah, Miss Teen Crypto. That's her name. And he said, "Yo, we're 3 weeks out," and he gave that prediction. Everybody got so excited, and everybody was just gathering they thoughts, and it was a big letdown. So, uh, as much as we want to keep saying it was a sacrifice and whatever, let's just get that out of our head, and then let's take for face value, like my man Sun Cipher is saying. Let's take his word and what he said. Okay, so what we know is Richard Hart doesn't like promise tokens. He doesn't like founders who watch everything get hashed out and don't intervene. And also, he doesn't like uh oh, he has bad price predictions. Woo! Let's just throw in a, a point for his case. But you factor all of this in, if you know you have, I mean, not price predictions, software predictions. So if you know all of this, why would you even come out and say we're launching if you didn't look at the code, test it, like go through a dev, let them explain everything, let them explain what else? Like, I don't get why you would even say 2 3 weeks or this if none of that was confirmed. So with me just saying everything I just said, even though he has bad software predictions, you lied, you trying to cover it up, and then we're still not. He said last year. He said
Well,
December
hold on a
last
second.
year.
Hold on a second. What from my observation, it appears that his pomposity got the best of him. Like while he was out tricking off and shit, and I got the best devs, I got the best devs. They did not fucking, it was literally the last minute of the last hour, considering how long we were waiting. 2 weeks before lunch, the famous tweet. You know what I'm saying? Basically, he prepped us that it may not launch, and then he confirmed before even the end of that month and shit that it wasn't going to launch, and then it's just been like radio silence from there, basically. You know what I'm saying? So how the fuck did it? All of this you've been working on, you've been only working on the BSC fork. So it took you this motherfucking long to figure out you had problems. So we're that far in already. So to me, that's a fallacy. Either you was not on point as like the overseer of all of this shit, or all y'all motherfuckers is idiots. You and your dads.
And,
Because
and, and
somebody should
we
have picked this up.
and I
Like
just want to add
somebody
this
should have
in.
picked this up before motherfucking 10 months into this.
Yeah, you
Now,
can you can
now,
keep going. I just
now
want to
all
add
of a
this in.
sudden,
We're aware
POS launches.
of pivots in the market. We're aware of a person having to make a pivot just to get a product or something functioning out there to the people. So it's not like we're not taking that into consideration. We're aware he has to pivot. If he didn't do this, what would he have? Is our point. If we weren't doing Eve 2.0, we would be stuck with the buggy code that we couldn't fix, which means we would be waiting perpetually or potentially just getting buggy code.
Or eventually they will probably have to come out and say, yo, either two things will happen. So from the point that that they had to come out and tell us that they had major problems with this BSC fork, which they still didn't come out and say it, was kind of drip drabbled out and shit, right? And again, it would have been more to me. He would have gained more value by whenever he came out and said it wasn't going to launch. He should have just said that BSC fork is shit. You know what I'm saying? He should have been straight up with the people at that point, because what happened from there was then they're just on the clock waiting for fucking POS to launch. What else? You know what I'm saying? Because nothing happened differently from the time that we got the fatal tweet that he indefinitely postponed this shit up until the point that after POS launched and shit, when they decided they were going to fork this POS 2.0. What happened between that time? What were they doing all of that time? So these
Yeah,
are really like serious questions. Again, it doesn't really matter per se. Like it's not like, somebody ever going to tell us what the true, answer to that is or whatever, but the question has to be asked and shit. And again,
oh
this is
yeah.
a management thing. All of this is acceptable. This is fucking blockchain, and we all know that this software is all kinds of crazy. But again, it's just the manner of which he rolled that shit out and how it affected the people. And this is the fallout from all of that. But yeah, go ahead with that SEC, man.
No, yeah. So essentially, to my knowledge, the SEC, it's not necessarily like they filed anything yet, but they're looking for documents uh from Hex influencers involving Hex. Now, like like I said, I know how Hex functions. What documents? You know, you would be looking for the lines of code. That's all you can see that, right? But what we're referring to is probably the price manipulation, and this is all speculation, allegedly, because nothing has been filed, but also because none of this has been debunked or proven correct anyway. But of course, we got to bring something. Uh, it's about these private chats with the people who may control or be in control of the community. Uh, Now I'm not sure who's received them, but maybe what is his name? Crypto Coffee. I know he sells a course, and That's essentially what I'm getting at is the people who sell the Hex crypto courses, how to teaching people how to make a passive income online or whatever the fucking course is. Um, yeah, man, getting people to invest their retirements, invest large sums of money. Yo, invested in Hex, and yeah, this will definitely go up. And we're all aware that this is high risk, which is why we preface all the things we preface: no admin keys, uh, self custody, and also the immutable code. But yeah, so you peel the layers back, and what you see is a community full of admins. And I'll let my boys tag in. I gotta go to the bathroom after this, but you see a community full of admins who have vanished from admin positions. The community is kind of leading itself right now because, like we said, Richard Hart is not coming out about any of this. The admins are all started their own separate things, cash grabs, uh, in the Hex community, and the entire community is on autopilot right now, essentially.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know like yeah, there's the pulse chat, some other chats. I haven't really been in those in too long, but yeah, yeah, the bear market, people are taking a step back. There isn't the hype around, stuff going up. So we're at a very interesting position here. So we'll see. I haven't been paying that much attention to the SEC and all these things. I've seen some stuff here and there. So a lot of people, whether it's influencers, I don't even know what the definition of an influencer would be. I don't know how many followers you have to be an influencer, but influencers versus shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, I don't know. It's it's an interesting time. NFT creators, a lot of those people, they may find themselves getting some letters as far as the whole space with these regulations that these politicians are going to push may get a lot of people dragnet and some charges against people. I don't know.
No, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because most people are probably wondering, oh, what secret chats and what could potentially, you know, be a issue, and it's essentially the market manipulation. If you look at like any past things that have happened, like the GameStop things and the insider trader group that was caught up for trading that, the SEC just wants to protect users and their funds. So if anything is seen to be too wild or not within, their ramifications, then they will want to stop it. So we don't know what would happen with the SEC and what documents they're requesting and what we could potentially find. That's why we're bringing the knowledge in the news because right now, not much has been brought to the surface. But what we do know is how the community operates. We do know Hex influencers who are paid to promote Hex essentially. If you make a job where all you do is promote Hex to get paid, then you're paid to promote Hex, even though there is no Hex company or whatever. So you're promoting Hex, you're telling people to invest in it, you're getting people to invest, you're showing people all of these things, but you're not realizing that you know, behind the scenes, you're essentially manipulating the market. You're creating large groups of people that, are pushing up the price, which it happens anywhere. Everybody's bullish on all of these cryptocurrencies and they all have rooms and chat rooms and whatever. The idea is when you have a group of admins who are supposed to be foreseeing uh, the community and you have them saying things that may not be potentially correct. You have them saying, because we've already pointed things out. The Papa Boner thing with the security, we already know there's cracks and there's holes in a lot of these things. So if they're requesting it from influencers, well, where did the influencers get the influence? in the Telegram. Okay, well, who's foreseeing it? The admins. So we're not like making anything up. None of this is like conspiracy theory or just hearsay. This is all things that people should be aware of, and if you just go back or actually all of these um, chat rooms were recorded. You can just go back and listen to it. Like it's not even a thing that we have to dispute. The regulation and all of that in the rooms, you couldn't talk about what you wanted in there. I wonder why. Um, you just couldn't mention anything in these chat rooms regarding if it wasn't Hex or Pulse related, you weren't talking about it. Even if it was just bringing something up as a comparison or whatever, or as an example. So it's everything in combination with how they've ran the community and how we see things going so far. Why is every admin in a different community led group? I want you guys to dig in on this, but it's just so many more questions. There's people in that were in that chat group that were admins that have disappeared, and they have created large pools where, give me your money, I'll give you a larger portion of this large pool we're all gonna get from the sacrifice. So all of these people, oh, Paul Shane was a sack. Paul Shane was a sack. Don't expect anything. What about if you sacked with a group of people? Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
now you got a group of angry people, and everybody has their own thoughts. So I mean, we're only looking at this from one perspective, but there's a lot of issues that the community brought that upon themselves. That was an admin who created that group, and it was okay for them to promote it, but we couldn't talk about anything else.
yeah. I mean, this there's a lot of layers to this shit for sure, But the last thing you said, I remember having conversation about that months ago, and I think I'm sure I was the one that was initiating that because I was telling you guys about like just some conversations I was having with Hexicans and really like just information that was being shared with me, during that time about like Mexicans basically act in similar ways to what you were just describing, kid. So that's definitely, something interesting in that way, but like more concrete is what you're saying about these pools. And I remember what I said back then whenever this, was initially talking about this because I actually had to ask myself the question like, how do I feel about this? Because I've never participated in any public pools. I've just never done that, and the reason why I've never done it is because in this ecosystem of Hex, there's like a philosophy, behind it. If you read the white paper and, or when I read the white paper and as I began to understand Hex, I really thought it was organic in how it, kind of did his business and stuff like that. So for me, the idea of creating um, like public pools in order to simply to accumulate more than the next guy like beneath you or whatever, like that's not just like from a philosophical perspective. I just wasn't down with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was saying, but I wasn't necessarily even thinking about the implications as far as like SEC. When I was saying that, I was just simply talking about it from a philosophical perspective. But for sure, if you are collecting money publicly and you are guaranteeing any returns on any level, I can see that being an issue for sure. Beyond any of like the supposed like erased whatever messages or correspondences. I think I heard something about. I was reading something about with Eric Wall and his tweets, or any of that. Like the smoking gun, as I said, if you have participated, or if you like, God forbid, if you're the one that actually are like the progenitors or the founders of these public pools. And if you're, first of all, public pools, I think is, is quite tricky, but also once you start guaranteeing returns, then you definitely are stepping into some muddy waters, I would think, personally. Again, I'm no expert on this, but it seems a bit cloudy from that perspective. So, again, I mean, once you look into Hex, then you're probably going to look into this entire ecosystem. And if it's true that they are reaching out to influencers, then a lot of things that come out of that. It depends on what they're looking for. If it's just like isolated to Hex and Richard Hart, or if they're going to go down a rabbit hole. And the other thing that I would say, as far as like the influencers, and this is something that I think Kid was alluding to, that maybe there are influencers that are colluding, possibly have colluded in the background, maybe to pump the price of Hex by talking about certain definitive things that Hex will do in the future as far as price performance. If some shit like that popped off, if that's true and they found evidence of that, then clearly that would be a problem, whatever. But, again, with regards to the code itself, I don't really think there is any real issue. We were talking earlier off wax, like the one point of I think of like an opening that will be kind of, I guess, like the brightest to kind of like scrutinize in the whole Hex ecosystem could possibly be this thing with the OA and all that's about. And Kid, maybe you can get into that a bit more. Like what you were saying about, like, how they could maybe go about, like maybe what their mind state would possibly be if they were to look into the OA or whatever. But so we're just talking about things that, some of them are more concrete than others, but we don't know what's going to happen, honestly. But the fact that this is even an issue, I think, is the more pertinent topic for me personally. I think all of this shit could have been avoided if this guy would have just acted like a fucking adult. Seriously. But go ahead, kid.
Yeah, it could be multiple things. I really think it's the pooling. It could be the influencers who used to say, "Oh, Hex doubles every 30 days." Uh, but mostly, if they're investigating and if eyes are on us and if they're actually looking at how Hex works and is it, safe in their eyes, the OA could just be seen as, oh, this is a like essentially like a leverage utensil, and we don't think this is safe. So they just ban it the same way, anything else would get banned. It's not like you can't go use it, but it's illegal. Um, and then I was just saying as well that even if that's not the case, they could potentially accuse Richard Hart of being the OA, which some people jokingly talk about it, some people say don't talk about it, whatever. But the thing is, uh, if most people are on record saying it could potentially be you, uh, and then a lot of sources point to you, then we could just conclude that it's you. We don't necessarily have to like verify that it's you. So we don't know yet. And that's why, the SEC investigating these influencers. Nothing has been filed, but we just don't quite know what the implications are, which is why, we're just bringing forward what we think and what may be the issues, and also while pointing out some issues that have already been there with the community and the community pools and whatever.
So, yeah, like, like the adoption amplifier or whatever. So what basically kid is saying in layman's terms, like the law can accuse you of fucking anything. And it's gonna be up to you, like, if they decide to, take this to court or whatever the fuck, it's gonna be up to you to uh, prove that they're wrong. That's basically how it works. So,
Exactly.
we're
If you ain't
basically
got the
saying
money,
that,
you
like,
lose.
a vulnerable, like an attack vector would could possibly be something like the OA if they wanted to throw a bunch of resources and money at digging into that or whatever, and accusing him, of being the OA and accusing certain outcomes based on him being the OA.
Right. And this whole thing, as far as people saying, "Oh, well, even if that were the case, then it'll take years," and what they're doing, we don't know. The fact that there's no clarity as far as regulatory clarity shows that they could just drop the hammer, make hex illegal, and then after that continue on with the investigation. So we have no idea. And this is where I don't want hex influencers and whoever has platforms with thousands of people to just be like, oh no, this isn't really a real issue, and we shouldn't really worry about it too much. I can totally agree when we're talking about a code standpoint. Is hex a security, and we're dealing with the Security Exchange Commission? No, hex is not a security. Hex will not pass. The Howey test. But what I'm getting at here is something else that we didn't see, and something else arising that potentially wouldn't have arisen if maybe there was no OA. And Hex wouldn't be Hex without the OA. But I'm just saying that from a
Without the
standpoint.
OA, Hex will be Zen.
Right. No, exactly. Exactly in the purest form. So that's another shot to you Zen haters and Hex lovers. But
I'm
nah,
trolling, but
man.
I'm saying, I mean, really, it would be more like Zen without the OA.
Right.
So again, I'm calling Hex like Angel DeFi, So and I think we should get into this level of conversation as well because I know Asher L has a lot to say about this as well. Like we, the three of us on here, along with our comrades, the other half of Crypto and Down, NFT Jams, and the God Crypto Nate, we have these conversations all the time and shit. We just kind of like, press and record right now so y'all can get a little bit of this shit. But I think there's something to be said about pure DeFi and pure crypto, like as we move forward in this space, and especially with all of these incursions from these centralized governmental entities like the SEC and other alphabet agencies, even, you know. Um, the fact of the matter is, and I was saying this to Asher L before you came on to our private chat, kid, is that the SEC will never look at Zen as a security, right? That this we can safely say based on who they've come at, whether they've won or lost the lawsuit, because Library just lost their lawsuit, by the way. They lost their case with the SEC. And there was one thing that made Library a security, which doesn't apply to Hex, by the way. But again, this is all like new territory. They'll just keep adding to the library of bodies and shit along the way. But apparently, Library had done some pre-launch sell dividends of like some tokens or something like they're given to devs or something like that. So that made them a security. Now, kid, you just brought to my attention, like I wasn't even aware of this. I don't know how I skipped over this, and maybe it just blanked me. But with the Texan token, you said that they've given their devs like a portion of the tokens. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you go, you can just go to Texan CC right now, but it does say that they have a small allocation to the devs, I believe. But
They may be because I know they're set up as like a nonprofit. So I don't know what the rules are around that, but it like if that's not the case, then maybe they are looking at some issues as well moving forward. So that may be something to talk to
right,
Rags and
right,
Crypto
of
Hybrid
course,
about.
and that's why it's always important to look at projects like Zen and truly understand it because it is one of a kind. When let's say the gavel does come down and the regulation comes down hard, and they can even revert some of these things. They can even say, "Oh, this was illegal. It's not illegal anymore." After we did more investigating, whatever. It's hypothetical, but I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, but I just want to say this, and I want Asher L to chime in real quick because this is like the the table I want to set. As we move forward, like as we got all this on our
I
table.
got it. I got it. So even if the
Go
gavel
ahead, go
comes
ahead.
down hard, man, Zen, we're damn near bulletproof. Yeah. I was gonna summarize with that, but with Zen, it's gonna be real light to regulatory anything that happens because it doesn't have all of these other extra things. When we're taking into account like dev allocation and uh, pre-sales and donations and none of it happened. Not none OAs and it just doesn't exist.
Adoption, adoption amplifiers in the sense that you're putting value in to get value out on the other side. So there's none of those mechanisms in play here. And this is what I want to talk about because seems like a lot of the hate of Zen and a lot of the scrutiny, like this to be progressive in the dialogue. A lot of the scrutiny around Zen, like overwhelmingly comes from the Hex community in Hexico. And what I've heard mostly is, oh, you're just raising the gas fees for everybody on Ethereum. That's just one blockchain. Even if we went with that argument, that doesn't seem to be the case now. There's only 2 million wallets on Ethereum, as we can see up here, 2.3 million to be exact. All right. So the gas fees are not being affected right now, and even more less than they always have been. People could be saying the same thing about Hex whenever Hexicans were trying to mint, I'm sorry, unstake all of their fucking stakes in, a year and a half ago. All right. We were the reason, like we were getting affected the most, out of all of these motherfuckers on Ethereum. So they could have been saying the same thing about us. Right. But my point is, these negative externalities that we've known to, kind of deal with in crypto, maybe it's time for something new, like the evolution of, so to speak, or whatever. And that's what I see in Zen. Even if we just talk about the tokenomics and the game theory and everything just associated with blockchain or whatever, this is innovation that I have not seen in the game, where the barrier to entry is your ability to pay to process the transaction. That's it. That's another thing they complained about. So you got the gas fees and you got oh yeah, the bots. All these bots. It's gonna be bot heavy, bot. And then I'm hearing like, oh yeah, the exchanges, own most of the fucking Zen. So it's never gonna be, you know, decentralized and all this stuff like that. These are, I've heard, um, your boys like, Google is a plot, like, conspiracy. I've heard like all of these things. People that I know and love, that I in this community that I'm having these conversations with. Right. So, um, but it turns out the one product that literally should not threaten Hexicans at all. I would literally think that Hexic, and there are tons of Hexicans that actually love this project, if I'm being honest and fair. But like the mainstream Hexicans that you hear from, like a lot, not all of them, but a lot of them don't rock with this project for these reasons that I'm saying. They're not looking at the fact that it's pure DeFi, that it literally fits like a glove into all the first principles of DeFi. All right. When we're talking peer to peer, no middleman, no administrations, like immutable, trust list, all of these things that we supposedly want to move towards in crypto. This particular cat, Jack Levin, has developed this in Zen, and he was inspired by Hex, no doubt. Instead of Hexicans taking pride in the fact that, Richard Hart actually did his job and he actually inspired progression and growth, which he talks about all the time, which makes me mad to see and hear all the vitriol coming from the community from a certain sect of zealots, you know what I'm saying, in varying degrees about this particular project and shit. But my bad, I know we fucking ranting and shit. Go ahead, bro.
No, it's all good. I was actually trying to see Bitcoin today. Um, shit, y'all were talking about, what was the topic again? What was
Yeah,
the
no, we were
question?
just talking about like Zen and like how it represents like a new wave in blockchain and DeFi specifically versus all of the hate that's come out of the well, not all of the hate, but the majority of the hate has come from a sect of the Mexican community.
Yeah, so I remember we talked about Zen, and for real though, I went it myself a little bit. One, because, and I'm not saying I'm not talking to you. I think I'm like, what is this going to turn into? I do like the fact that it's on a bunch of different chains. I think it has potential to be of use for people to send back and forth to each other, trade value in some way. Um, my first thought reaction after watching it launch, especially on Ethereum, was just how much bot activity. Um, and I seems like Jack is adding more onto it to give maybe to build a economy of sorts around it. And it seems like the community is strong and people. I think the fact that it's on multiple chains in the millions, and makes me think that over time people will start to do something with it and trade value back and forth and maybe even build different business use cases. I'm just I think my only hesitation with the Zen thing was, okay, yeah, there are lots of wallets created. Seems like there's a lot of bot activity. Where does that leave room for regular humans to benefit? Um, I'm more so in the like, let's wait and see camp of how this plays out. And like you were saying, Black Talk, when we were talking before we started streaming, like, this is going to depend on how people use it, different parts of the globe. So I think pairing this with the idea, this makes me think of like an idea of this is going to be a different take of what stable coins are. Um, and stable coins are traditionally what they're backed by, or supposedly backed by the dollar. But the idea of having people being able to keep the fundamentals of crypto, mint their own coins, mint their own tokens, have the same type of protocol on different of blockchain, the same number set of tokens being minted, and then adding on different types of, for lack of a better term, games on top of them, whether it's staking, NFTs, things like that. I'm like, okay, there's definitely something there. I'm in like a wait and see mode, and I want to see how people, do they just hodl this or do they start using this for something? And by something I mean, like, how is Zen going to help people who, or like, what's the use case for people who need it most, who say, for example, don't want to interact with the centralized strategy down, or so in all of these different blockchains. And the fact that it maybe gets you don't have to worry about the SEC, you don't have to worry about money transmitter laws, because everything is self-minted in your own wallet, self-custody. That ethos alone tells me, okay, that's a step in the right direction. It's just, I want to see, one, what's the use case besides bots, and how does it create a web between all these different chains as well, make them more interconnected too.
Yeah, like a network effect. Well, I know one of it is funny because I know the guys at Power City. I heard Jespit in that Twitter Spaces that I was listening to on repeat, or on after it they did it live and shit. He was saying that they actually have a multi-chain type of oracle that's gonna allow you to fucking basically flow in between like I think it was like 50, 60 something fucking chains or some crazy number like that or whatever. So I would say just that's happening right now as we speak. All you really need is interoperability and shit. As far as like that type of protocol that Jess is talking about. But I really want to like say something about this whole bot thing because that was basically like what the analytics are showing so far, and I haven't checked on this in about a week or so, so I could be, I don't know what the recent numbers are, but everybody was talking about the bot activity on um, POS. And as I just said, as you can see right now, as we speak, there's 2,348,473 wallets on POS as we speak, and that was the first launch, and that's about 34 days in. Um, you know, so I was in, and so was Kid as well. We were in these chat rooms before lunch, during lunch, and after lunch, till date. So I know that I there is nobody that I know of that personally that didn't even use bots, right? That don't have like no less than like fucking 30, 40 wallets and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably like the floor of people manually doing this shit. Now there's people in the community that are using bots as well. There's people outside of the community that are using bots as well. But what the analytics are showing that there's overwhelmingly more live real-time wallets and shit, like individual people that are doing these stakes so far, as opposed to the bots. And this was like, about a week and a half ago. So there was probably like two or three less chains and shit or whatever. But so this bot thing so far is not really what people are saying it is going to be, but it will be because as we were talking also off wax that Jack is developing our batch minter. So you're gonna be able to basically, set up like from one to like 100 fucking wallets into a batch and throw in the gas fees across these different, depending on what network you're on, be how much you pay in gas fees, and away you go. So that even levels the playing field with, even though the bots are not like a majority of these wallets already, these are real people. You know what I'm saying? Even if they have bots, they're real people in the community that are invested like in the long term, success of this project because they believe in it from like a philosophical level. That's really what I'm seeing. It's very similar to Hex, but the philosophy is different. I think it's more wholesome, more organic and shit. Hex is built to give you mad gains. It does that shit. Anybody who got in Hex prior to its like shooting off to its all time high, you still up. You know what I'm saying? Um, if you stake, then at least you're making value while the market recovers and shit. But that's another story. But Zen, the people that are in it, it seems to be like there are the bots, and it's all like the exchanges that have Zen and whatever, whatever. This is people driven for sure. Now, as far as like like the use case and stuff like that, I just say my vision. Like you mentioned Asher L, like you're looking at the people that need it the most, and it's funny you even mentioned that term because the last time I was in like a big chat in Zen, I was bringing this to the table because we were all throwing out our spitballs and shit about what is Zen, and I've been consistent. Anybody ask Kid or anybody that I've talked to about Zen, I've been consistent from the very beginning, like what I thought the vision ultimately was and shit, and so when we talk about the people that need it the most, it depends on where you are. And I like to give it, the example of the farmer over in India over in the Punjab state or whatever, and really India in general, where they commit suicide at a very high rate every year because of government incursion on their way of life and how they've done business for fucking and how they've lived for generations, literally. They go back fucking thousands of years. So I'm looking at Zen as the great equalizer and the answer to that. Like, what if, I can go over to Punjab and get with this collective of farmers and show them how they can literally, they're committing suicide because of dollars and cents because they can't afford to do this. And the government is taking their land and making it more difficult, telling them what to grow and just all kinds of shit that's going on. So if they have a tool like Zen that they can plug into, and the value proposition is Zen, again, I said this wax and I said it on wax as well, is the people. That's the tokenomics that people really are beginning to understand now. But I see, I think that is the true value proposition. And I'm using these Indian farmers for as an example of that value. So you plugged a whole fucking region of Indian farmers into a protocol like Zen, and they began to mint, and they got like spreadsheets, and they got really sophisticated methods of so they cover the whole gambit of short term, mid term, long term, generation of economic energy and shit, to where 8 years from now they've created a system that they can just plug and play that will flow through the generations, and now you have farmers in that region that are proliferating and doing things that they haven't been able to do for like 3 4 generations and shit, right? So that's one example. Another example that's closer to home that I was mentioning as well is when, and again, we just talked about this whole shit with Sam Bankman Fried and his connections to like all these, you call them the redacted, I'll call them the deplorable class, right? We're both talking about the same thing. We're talking about these individuals that hide behind the scenes. They communicate through esoteric language and symbols and colors and numbers and all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And they're doing things like in broad daylight that we don't understand because we don't see the language that they're speaking and communicating in and shit. So this is what I see encroaching to the point where, you guys know I did my whole shit on that. You know what I'm saying? I got a whole fucking collection of videos, hours of fucking research that I spent on blockchain and crypto and the Trojan horse that I immediately realized as soon as I got into this shit. And it's only playing out
Yeah,
right in front of my eyes.
yeah, bro. This just world's craziness. I'm about to hop off soon, but I was just looking up not really anything to do with blockchain per se, but the COP27 in Egypt that's going down. United Nations climate change. I mean, you can't really
Yep.
separate blockchain from climate change because of all
Yeah.
these, and but yeah, you talking about the deplorables at the end of the day, the technocrats, deplorables, the redacted, trying to bring in a technocracy, man, and using climate change to do it, as well as the pandemic. So, and stack that on top of them working to crash crypto, bring it to its knees, regulate it in a way where people say we need more regulations, but hey, the biggest crashes that have sunk the market have come from regulated entities, centralized entities. So you're
Yep.
right. These people are in there from the beginning, and they are, a lot of them, not every one of them, as far, but they're just trying to destroy the open protocols that are out there in DeFi, whether they're on proof of stake or proof of work blockchain. So it's interesting to see Sam and his people. He's not going to go to jail. I doubt it. They never usually do, but bigger players are behind them moving things around. But yeah, looking at this COP27 going down in Egypt, I'm like, man, they about to bring in more lockdowns, but they're gonna be climate lockdowns. We
Yeah,
gotta save the
and
planet.
they told you they was going to. So just to wrap this up real quick, so they're trying to create this high tech open air electronic fucking prison and shit with all of these gateways that you have to swipe on and swipe off. This is why Zen. This is why Zen. You know what I'm saying? So it's only 34 days into this motherfucker, this experiment. So we don't know what's going to happen. And I do think the people will determine, because the people are already behind this, but like, right now, the majority of the talk is, based on like the regular crypto, mad gains and, how many X's and all this stuff like that. But there's also a collection of people that are talking like I am as well from varying points of view and shit. So this is something that I don't hear it inside of Hex, because Hex is not built for this shit. It's built to do exactly what it's doing. This is why I'm saying like there's no correlation to Zen and Hex, Zen and anything, because there's never been anything like it ever, as far as I know. You know what I'm saying? There's never been a protocol, let alone a network that allow to plug in to all these different levels. If the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to start building up community like before the shit hits the fan or whatever. This is what Zen is. It's like a safe way. It's like a escape mechanism out of all the bullshit. But it is fueled by crowd participation. That's the fucking value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, well, with this whole batch mentor and everything, you got the Zen FTs and you got the proof of burn. There's more functions built on top of it that uh you get to go other ways. You get to take a different path, but you also get to experience all of those paths at once, if as long as you know what you're doing and participating in the ecosystem. And you could do it on multiple chains. That's the beauty of it. Is let's say you like ETH and you like Binance. Okay, well we're there. You like ETH and Polygon or ETH and Avalanche and it's Doge chain. Just imagine how many communities we're gonna have that know about Zen and have no clue. Oh, it's on Ethereum too. Oh, it launched on Ethereum and it didn't even start in these places, but it all circles back. And it's the same thing. It's the same contract, just launched at different times.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting though. Like I'm all on like this little experiment to see what happens, but I'm definitely gonna project my vision onto this shit for sure.
yeah, definitely. I'm interested to watch and see how it percolates. So I definitely appreciate y'all's insight on it. Um, I was kind of before I was just like, man, what's going on with this thing? Like, just because of the whole, I can't keep up with that many wallets. So power to the people who can. So we'll see. Jack, I think Jack from the videos I watch, it seems like he has some more things coming. So
Yeah, man. But the price performance is not that bad right now either. While you bullshitting, like consider and this is clearly the Ethereum chart and shit.
mhm.
But to be out 30 days and all of this that's been surrounding it and whatever, like people are not dumping this shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So you know, but I think again, a lot of coins are not on the market yet. Most of these are still in the minting stage. So, like I was saying, once we reach that 80-day period moving forward, that's going to start to paint a more clear picture of what will be at least the immediate future of this project. Either people are going to start dumping as they claim their mints, or they're going to claim and stake.
Right, and really more people getting into DeFi because let's be honest here, with the low barrier to entry, I mean we're gonna see 4 or 5 years down the line people who knew about Zen and they just started minting it because they're starting to grasp the idea that it's not too late, or maybe it is too late. It's just not too late for all the opportunity. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
mean, again, like either whether you're in like a group like the farmers in India, or fucking like I say the firemen in fucking Jersey, or like the bingo league in motherfucking Biloxi or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I am saying, like once the people just realize that they can create something from nothing by interfacing with this particular protocol, and all I got to do is mint, claim, and stake, and I could begin to generate like income for me or me and my group and shit. I think that's a powerful, and the barrier of entry, like Kid is saying, like is basically zero across most of these blockchains and shit based on the transaction fees.
yeah.
And now with
But
the batch minter, that means everybody likes more on an equal playing field. So if you want to mint a whole bunch of wallets and shit, and really even how I got my wallets and shit. So for instance, I got a section of, and I've just got them labeled and shit. I got a section of my wallets that are like, it's max mint. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's say for instance, like the first 10 wallets or some shit or max mint. You know what I'm saying? And I'll have like names for them, like very specific to me and shit. Then like the next 10 will be like 7 or 18 day mints and shit like that or whatever. And then, like, so everything fits into like little cute little fucking like batches and shit within mine or whatever. So it's not really much for me to keep up with per se and shit, like at this moment. But like if I'm doing all this random shit, like, a hex stake or something like that, then I can see where that would be maddening. You're going to need a tool and shit, like a batch minter to fucking, keep up with that for sure.
Well, actually, ironically, the batch minter makes it so you have more power than the bot because if you're running a bot, that's essentially what you're doing. That's the only downside is you have to feed the bot and then you have to continuously track everything. And then, well, I guess the bot will have to track the things. So, with the batch mentor, you eliminate a lot of that, and I'm interested to see how it performs on cheaper chains where you can just load the boat. Is it max 100 VMUs, or can you do as many VMUs as you want?
I don't even know if that max is 100, but I know that's just the number that's been thrown around and shit. It's probably just a round number, but I don't think there would be a max, or maybe it's not something more than 100, but I can't say for sure. But at least 100, we know, definitely.
Yeah, because on a cheaper chain, if you could just, excuse me, if you could just go crazy on the VMUs, then we're really gonna see the performance and maybe the price and the community shift to a cheaper blockchain, which could spark an entirely new thing for Zen. I mean, if you just look at the individual users, we've already surpassed Hex. So as far as a bigger crypto, we're bigger than Hex already, and we're 30 days in, and we're on 10 different blockchains. Like, come on now. So that was one thing I was saying before earlier. It was like Richard Hart says that Hex can operate on all these different blockchains, but it's only been forked. He hasn't brought the Hex code anywhere else. You see that poor pleb ad? Look at that. I
Have you
haven't.
guys gotten your Have you gotten your airdrop yet?
No, I haven't got mine.
What about you, Asher?
No, I haven't.
What, yo, y'all slipping, son. You better go get this motherfucking poor pleb airdrop. Let me click on this shit real quick.
Mm,
I won't say how much I got on wax and shit, but it's worth the fucking couple seconds to you know go grab this shit. 56 days left, so you got plenty of time. But I like this. I like this poor pleb, and I like the more token and shit that our boy Trayvon is doing. These are
Trevon,
the two
yeah.
main fucking projects that I'm really intrigued about. And Trey, both of these are like, again, I think they're setting the bar for what meme tokens can be. But we'll just focus on this poor pleb right now and shit. So this is your boy, your UK brother, Hexy Bastard. This is his project and shit. And so basically, this is kind of like geared towards all like the low end retail investors in the Richard Hart ecosystem. So initially, if you, I think, if you like held like certain coins, like certain meme coins, like Sheeb and whatever those, whatever, and if you invested $1,000 or less in RE sacrifice, then you were airdrop. I don't know how much because I didn't fit into that category. But you got free fucking poor pleb. Now they just came back around and shit, and they're just basically giving anybody who invested in RH sacrifice and shit, you get a free airdrop. So, there you go. Poor pleb.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that shit sound
So you
crazy.
got that shit. But I mean, there's like literally airdrops falling out the sky at this point, yo. I can't keep up.
Yeah, dude, it's endless airdrops.
This Texan token joint. But the one that I'm actually excited about because it's like stable is this Gnosis Safe joint, yo. Um, I got some of those coins as well and shit, just based on and if I'm assuming everybody who views Staker app will have some of these coins airdrop to them. So I'm assuming whenever he comes out with his new front end, we should be able to access that as well. So if you're a Hexican, I really can understand and see now. But at first, it was just like more like a dream, like how the original Bitcoin OGs were when everybody was giving them free shit because they wanted their business, basically. You know what I'm saying? Or at least like the hype. Like I feel like that's what's going on with Hexicans right now and Posticans. Whatever the fuck. But
Yeah, is that
so yeah, that's
everything, man?
say what now?
Is that everything? You want to take
Yeah,
over?
man. Icosa's making moves, looks like,
Oh yeah.
and shit. Oh, let me just say this one thing real quick. Let me I just want to shout out to my man Big Pep, yo. Like this my dude. I don't know if you guys saw his last stream and shit, but he basically signed off about midweek and shit this week. He did his last string and essentially is another casualty of this RH bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been contemplating this shit for a minute. Um, but he just kind of decided that, based on he was already contemplating it or whatever. And this latest thing with the SEC and them coming out the influences and shit, he just kind of like he signed out, yo. But if you guys don't know Big Pep and shit, and he might have erased a lot of his videos as well. I think he did. But if you guys don't know Big Pep, yo, he's like I call him like the realest one of them all and shit, yo. He's like I always fuck with Big Pep, even though I don't always agree with him. Actually, I respect that because none of us always agree with anything any fucking way. But like, he just talk his real shit, just like we are. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't hold punches or whatever the fuck. And what I really found interesting, the amount of like the diversity of the Hexa community that fuck with Big Pep. You know what I'm saying? If you ever heard him, especially lately over the past couple months, like basically some of the things that we've touched on today with regards to RH and his rollout of this ecosystem in junction with the outrage marketing and how that's affected community. Pep talked about that as well. Like, in fact, I don't know anybody who consistently has been talking about it more than Pep and really us. You know what I'm saying? But we just don't stream consistently and shit. So ain't nobody really checking for us like that. But we got that shit on wax anyway. But I just wanted to shout out Big Pep, yo, because like I said, I mean, I always just went to him, just to fucking chill out, relax and shit. And just I can relate to it, his mentality, about certain aspects of how the community is and how Richard Hart can be and versus like the Richard Hart that we actually kind of fell in love with because of how he was talking about crypto and hex and all the things that he said. I mean, think about it, yo. It seems like every other day, like shit that he warned us about and shit is coming fucking true. Like this motherfucker is a prophet, yo. I mean, think about it. Like, if it not for this fucking outrage marketing, and he just let his words speak for him, dude, do you realize how much more lovable this dude would be right now? Because a lot of shit this motherfucker has said has fucking come through, and he's pointing motherfuckers out directly and shit, and said that this shit is gonna flop. Take your money out, and he's got a body count right now that you cannot fucking deny. But at the same time, you can't be duplicitous in your ways. You got to figure out who you want to be. I'll just kind of like say that as my last words and shit. But yeah, definitely shout out to Big Pep, man. Definitely miss fucking your streams and shit, bro. Hopefully you'll come back on some cameos and shit like that. We'll probably have to get you on, after the pub one day and shit like that. But go check Big Pep, yo. Go check some of his latest episodes for the past month or so if you want to get a pulse on how like another sect of the hex community is, feeling that tends to get muffled and kind of shit on whenever opinions are voiced and questions are asked and shit. So.
It looks like he deleted all his videos, but yeah, dude, that's sad to see because even the guys who were defending Paul's chain and maybe the SEC are going after. They used to watch Big Pep stream. Um,
Yeah.
it's sad to
And
see.
it was funny because like across the board, like everybody, I mean, there's influencers that got like 10, 20 times more audience than Pep. They all frequent his spot. This is what I'm talking about. Black, white, blue, brown, it does not matter. This is what I'm saying. There was something very unique about this dude that I think was very underrated in this community and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why I fuck with Pep because he's very fucking fair. So I can always deal with somebody who's fair even if I don't agree with every single thing that they say and shit, as long as they're fair and they're consistent with that, yo, I'm gonna rock with you forever and shit. So shout out to Big Pep, bro. I'll see you around for sure.
All right, man. If that's everything, we can call it a quit. Uh, yeah, we hit everything touching Zen as far as Hex, the SEC, Richard Hart. Uh, Shout out to Big Pep and yeah, man, this is the Alpha Airdrop, man. You really not gonna get a perspective like this, cause to be honest, everybody else is scared to talk about it. I mean, Big Pep may know the things we know and just not even want to go there. And the thing is I have no respect nor loyalty to anybody in this community. It's all to my brethren that I do this podcast with, and myself and my family. So if you're a hex influencer and the SEC is hunting after you, then I'm talking about you. So, yep. And if you know exactly who I'm talking about as far as these chats and the secretness, then just know that some of this is gonna come to light. But yeah. So just expect more people to just kind of go MIA.
True. Go ahead, Asher. I'll get your last words in, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate y'all having me. Definitely. For those tuning in, you can catch me on the Crypto and Down on Twitter or YouTube, where me and Jams try to bring the news that you can use when you can use it. Appreciate
That
y'all having me.
crypto and that down for sure. Yeah, man. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, yeah. Again, man, like we doing our thing in here. We are not influencers, yo. We're true sayers. Just know that shit. True sayers that invest in crypto and invest in life in general. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to plant seeds. We're trying to grow organically and shit. So that's where we really kind of bond on all of this shit or whatever. We just kind of happen to be into this, this new technology and this new form of asset creation. So, shout out to everybody that love us and everybody that got something to say. Like, definitely, like, reach out, because it's not personal for me or any of my brothers. We're just really talking about like what we are seeing and experiencing. We're just kind of chronicling this shit. So, definitely check out Crypto and Down. Definitely check out Alpha Airdrops. Definitely check out Black Dot Chronicles, and you can get into our crypto streams. Under what I'm saying, block life, we've been doing that, and that led into alpha airdrop. It's been a long time coming, but we all been in the background. We all support hex, so we need to get as well. We're fucking hexagon in this. We care about how this shit grows, both economically and as a community as well and shit, because that's what people like to talk about, community, this, that, or whatever, when we got all of these fractures. And it's mostly because people are selfish in the background. So, and I'm not wishing any ill on anybody. I hope, like, everybody is safe from like the incursions of any government, type of agency and shit like that. But if you have been plotting and planning and scamming in the background and doing things against the community, as has been insinuated, then yo, watch your back. That's all I'll say. You're gonna get what's coming to you if that's in fact what you've been doing. And this has nothing to do with the SEC. Like I said, I mean, these are literally, I've been people been telling me about this and giving me receipts for the better part of a year about exactly what fucking is being talking about right now. So, you know, that's all I'll say. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with us. Yo, we'll be back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. One more thing. And if you just look in the description of this video, it's a link to one of my tweets. Uh, and it just reveals a little bit of what I talked about a few months ago with one of these paid actors. He represented a team for a project that doesn't even exist yet, and then now he's representing another team for a project that is in testnet. But just go ahead and look at it. It's no shade to those projects, no shade to the person, just exposing how even the people you look up into for this community, they're paid actors, and they might be paid to say things that you like, so you participate. But with that being said, man, we really covered everything. It's been a hot one, man. But we out.